Good morning. Indian energy scenario in various sectors domestic, industrial, commercial, agricultural, and transportation, and other sectors are discussed in this video. And this topic comes in Unit 1. Energy consumption in India is growing rapidly. India is the world's third largest producer and fourth largest consumer of electricity. In India, there has been a thrust to increase the installed generating capacity of power. In India, the installed capacity of power is 4,17,000 megawatt, and it has been trying to improve the installed generating capacity. And India is planning to decrease the reliance of primary fossil fuels such as petroleum and natural gas to cater these needs. Generating and providing reliable power at competitive prices in a sustainable manner is a policy of India. And in India, it optimizes the use of multiple energy resources with innovative eco-friendly technologies has been the core of policy planning in India. And the Indian energy scenario in various sectors such as agricultural 18% and transportation 1%, industrial 41%, and domestic 26% and commercial 8%. And we are going to study and different sectors Indian energy scenario in various sectors. And for this question, this diagram is very important. This chart is very important. Pie chart is very important for the diagram. And this chart, industrial sector occupies the major proportion and the transportation sector occupies a very less proportion, and the next largest sector is domestic sector. And this table is also very important for examination point of view. Industrial sector 41%, domestic sector 26%, agricultural sector 18%, commercial 8%, transportation 1%, miscellaneous 6%. A grid system. India's national grid has an installed capacity of 4,16,000 megawatt as on 2023. Renewable and hydroelectric power plants contribute 41% of total installed capacity. For the problem of unequal distribution of electricity, interconnected grid systems are used. In India, there are 5 grid systems. First one, western grid, northern grid, eastern grid, northeastern grid, southern grid. Southern grid is not interconnected with others, it is a separate one. Indian energy scenario in domestic sector. In domestic sector, we need power in our homes for lighting, heating, cooking, and powering devices such as fan, air conditioners, ovens, washing machines, iron boxes, electric cookers, water heaters, music systems, etc. So energy mix of grid and off-grid supply is provided to energy mix challenges. Electrification programs like Saubhagya by Government of India is aimed at providing electricity to all villages. Solar DC systems powered 60,000 homes in Manipur, Meghalaya, Assam, and Jammu Kashmir in India. The central government officially declared that all villages in India were electrified on April 28, 2018, and all willing households on March 31, 2019. But there are several power crises in Jammu and Kashmir and Naxal dominated Chhattisgarh regions. The domestic sector's energy demand increases by 3% per annum. The domestic sector electrification programs should be initiated by the government of India, and the electricity should be provided to all rural areas, and the grid connectivity should be expanded to all the areas. In most of the areas, off grid connectivity is given, so everything should be connected by grid systems. Off grid power plants like wind and solar power should be installed in rural areas. And second one, energy efficiency. In domestic sector, old appliances should be replaced by energy efficient appliances, and LED lighting should be installed because it consumes less power. CFL, compact fluorescent lamps, should be used instead of incandescent bulb. A 23 volt 23 watt CFL can replace 100 watt bulb. During daytime, sunlight should be used and tube lights and bulbs should not be used. Dim lights should be used in lobbies, balconies, etc. Computers and printers should be shut down when not in use. Old appliances should be replaced in order to improve the energy efficiency. Indian energy scenario in industrial sector. In industrial sector, it consumes about 42%. In India, major consumer of electricity is industrial sector. Energy efficiency should be increased and energy intensity should be reduced. Industries should adopt renewable energy resources to meet their power demands. The demand for industrial sector during 2010 to 21 grow at an annual growth rate of 7%. Industrial sector is growing day by day, so the demand for industrial sector is also increasing. Despite the increase in energy consumption by the sector, the percentage consumption of sector has not been increased dramatically and is stayed between 40 to 45%. Within the industry sector, aluminium, cement, chlor-alkali, fertilizer, iron and steel, pulp and paper, textiles are the largest electricity consumers. They account for about 55% of the total use in industrial subsector. So in the industrial sector, increase in tech option is an indicator of reduction in energy demand. In the industrial sector, technology options in the cement sector, increased waste heat recovery. So the waste heat should be utilized and this will reduce the energy demand. Under this tech option, large penetration of such technologies assumed with a corresponding reduction in thermal and electrical energy used in the process. Second one, increase electricity from the grid. The electricity should be used. The electricity from the grid should be used. They should not have their own captive power plants. Captive power plants, if they employ the captive power plants, they have their own power plants, they are called as captive power plants. They employ their own power plants, it will be less efficient. These captive power plants should not be used. Instead of that, electricity should be obtained from the grid, that is more efficient. The third one, increase alternate fuels and raw materials. So this technology option is a major driver for reduction of thermal energy consumption in cement plants, and alternate fuels should be used that will reduce the energy consumption, and new raw materials should be used that will require less energy. And European Japanese plants are reportedly running with more than 30 to 50% coal being substituted by alternate fuels such as domestic, industrial and agricultural waste and used rubber tires. And the penetration of that is alternative fuels and raw materials in India is probably less than 1%, and thus a large potential seems to exist in the enabling infrastructure and incentives can be provided along with the policy based support. Then the second one, industrial sector, technology options in the iron and steel sector. Switch to electric furnace. So in the olden days, that is the oxygen furnaces were used, and this technology option studies the impact of major shift to electric furnace. So if you use electric furnace, energy efficiency will be more. So switch to electric furnace is an technology option. And increase gas based direct reduce iron. So this will reduce the energy consumption. This is also an technology option. The third one, increase electricity from the grid, similar to the cement sector. So electricity should be used from the grid. Captive power plants, electricity from the captive power plants should not be used. And increased scrap. And European and Japanese plants are reportedly running with more than 30 to 50% iron being substituted by steel scrap. So in Indian sectors they are using pure steel ores, but they are using the steel scraps. Japanese and European plants are using steel scraps. This will reduce energy consumption. So increased scrap will reduce the energy consumption of these industrial sectors. Then Indian energy scenario in agricultural sector. Electricity is essential for irrigation purposes in the agricultural sector. Agricultural sector consumes about 18% of electricity. Out of domestic sector consumes 12%, and the industrial sector consumes about 42%, and agricultural sector consumes about 18%. The domestic sector around 24%, and agricultural sector 18% electricity. Backbone of Indian economy is agricultural sector, and in the agricultural sector electricity is used for irrigation purposes. As the monsoons are erratic, farmers have to depend upon the irrigation bore wells and tube wells, etc. Almost 90% of the groundwater is consumed for irrigation purposes. India has 1.2 crores agricultural electricity connections and 90 lakh diesel pump sets to pump up groundwater. Agricultural activities, particularly irrigation, are major energy consumers. Many farmers use diesel pumps for irrigation, but there is a growing interest in solar powered pumps. Policy support, subsidies and incentives. The government provides subsidies for energy efficient agricultural equipment and encourages the use of renewable energy sources in the farming practices. In the agricultural sector, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Sources has launched Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Udan Mahabhiyan or PM Kusum scheme aims to promote solar pumps for irrigation. The Union Minister of New and Renewable Energy Sources, in a written reply to a question in Lok Sabha, said that 2,95,000 standalone off-grid solar water pumps have been installed under PM Kusum scheme for farmers. The PM Kusum scheme was launched in 2019 and it aims to provide affordable solar power and water security to farmers while reducing the environmental pollutions. The total installed numbers under PM Kusum scheme are in 3 states: Haryana 80,000, Maharashtra 79,000, and Rajasthan 59,000, accounting for over 2 lakh installations. In the agricultural sector, consumes about 17% of the electricity and is about and it consumes 12% of the total diesel in the country. Irrigation pump sets and tractors account for most of the energy requirement in the sector, with other farm machinery contributing only a small portion. Pumping is primarily done through electricity. The number of electrified pump sets has increased to over 16 million in 2009 from 12 million in 1999. The average efficiency of pump sets remains low at 30 to 35% and offers significant scope for savings. Plenty of room for expansion and energy efficiency is available in major, medium and minor or micro irrigation. Only 3 million hectares is under micro irrigation. Field studies undertaken in Punjab suggest that 40% reduction in input power for 5 HP electric pumps is possible through efficient pumping and stable electricity supply. Indian energy scenario in transportation sector. In the transportation sector, consumes very less amount of electricity. It consumes about 1% of total electricity produced in India. Vehicle electrification. Transportation sector is undergoing shift towards electrification. Electric vehicles are coming to replace the fossil fuels. With the faster economic growth, the use of four-wheelers have increased exponentially. The falling cost of electric vehicles will lead to their faster adoption. In 2030, nearly one-third of the four-wheelers and half of the four-wheelers would be electric. In India, 85% to 90% of Indian railway locomotives run on electric power. The size of lead oxide batteries are very high compared to lithium ion batteries. Japanese people working on developing sodium ion batteries. Nuclear submarines and aircrafts can also run on electricity. Most of the transportation sector, most of the motorized passenger transport in the country moves on roads, rail and air. In addition, some passenger traffic also moves on inland waterways. Freight traffic, on the other hand, moves largely on road and rail. A small but increasing share of freight movement also happens via pipelines, coastal shipping, and on inland waterways. However, it is road transport that is responsible for meeting the major share of both passenger and freight transport in India. Indian energy scenario in commercial sector. Commercial sector indicates non-residential and non-residential built-up areas such as offices, hospitals, hotels, retail outlets, educational institutions, etc. The commercial sector account for 8% of electricity consumption in India. The current share of electric consumption seems to be small, but it has been growing rapidly in the next few years. Energy consuming equipments to the commercial sector include lighting, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning and other office related equipment. Commercial buildings require more amount of electricity in India. Solar power should be used in commercial buildings to meet the electricity demands. The increase in electricity consumption is due to growing rate of urbanization. Thank you.